Let's talk about frequency response for microphones. So today's going to be a quick chat type of video, and it's the type of thing that, it's not a super in-depth topic. This will probably be a bit of a shorty video, but it's really helpful and useful for people that have a home studio. So if you have a home studio, if you don't have a ton of mics, then this is going to be relevant to you. So first of all, the basic idea that we're going to talk about today is that different microphones have different frequency response. So different microphones will pick up different frequencies differently. Right? So some microphones pick up a lot of high-end shimmer, a lot of condenser mics, for example, have a ton of high-end. Some microphones are more warm. A lot of times those are ribbon microphones. They tend to be very warm. So it's good to know that different microphones pick up different frequencies, which might be very obvious to most of us, right? That once you start using different microphones, you tend to notice that pretty quickly. But the thing about that is that there are frequency response graphs for microphones that you can look up. So depending on what microphone you have or microphones that you have, you can look up the frequency response graph for that microphone. So for example, I actually have one printed out here. So this is a measurement microphone that I have, and it actually came with a printed out version of the frequency response graph. And it's a Dayton Audio, I forget which type it is, the EMM6, that's what it is. So it's this microphone. I've used it for acoustic stuff, tuning my room and stuff like that. So it's really great for getting readings for that type of a thing. And this microphone actually comes with a printed version of our frequency response graph. So if you're looking at this graph, you might notice the left side here, it's going to be low frequencies, and then the right side is going to be high frequencies. It's just like our EQs, right? So it's just showing you basically an EQ curve for the microphone itself, right? So this is showing me that this microphone is actually pretty even. There aren't any big spikes or big drops. And that's kind of the goal with a measurement microphone, is for it to have a fairly even frequency response. And oftentimes these microphones, mine has this, they'll come with a calibration file that is basically a digital representation of this that you can then load into software, for example, to help counteract any of these minimal effects that the microphone will have. But all that's to say that you can find a frequency response graph for your microphone, even if your microphone doesn't come with one that's printed out. A lot of times they don't, right? But you can go and look up online and see what your frequency response curve is for your microphone. So I'm just going to put this microphone away, and actually maybe we can just Google some really quick. That might be fun. So for example, I'm going to type in, how about the Rode NT1? So I just searched Rode NT1 frequency response, and this is what comes up, right? So if I look, here's the first result. Let's just take a look. Is it going to let me click? There we go. Let's have a look. I'm just looking for the actual frequency response curve. I'm sure this article is great. So here we have the frequency response chart for the Rode NT1A. So this is a really common home studio mic. This was my first mic, actually. I had a Rode NT1 of some sort for my first microphone. So that's why I chose this one, because it's a common home studio microphone. And you'll notice on this microphone, there's a bit of a boost here. This is what, like 180-ish, 150, 170, somewhere around there. And then we have another spike right around here. So I think this is, let's say 1,000, 2,000, 3. It's between like 3 and 4K. And then we have another spike here above 10K, right? So there's these different little spikes where the microphone will be more sensitive and pick up more of those frequencies. And so why am I bringing this up? Well, one, it's good to know what your microphone picks up, right? If you're recording vocals, you might want that little spike around 3K, right? Or near 3K. If you've seen my vocal formant video, I'll put a card on the screen, I think, and then a link in the description for that. If you've seen that, then you would understand why, or you might understand anyway, why if we're recording a vocalist, we might want that boost there. If you're recording drums, for example, if you're recording like a kick drum, you might want a little bit of a boost in the low end somewhere. So depending on what you're recording and what you want and what the sound source sounds like, right, you might want a different frequency response from your microphone. So it's good to be aware of, like, generally how your microphone responds to different frequency ranges, and looking at these graphs is a good way to figure that out. A lot of us just kind of intuitively do it as well, but different people learn differently, and sometimes having a visual to aid in understanding things is really good. Now, the other reason why I bring this up is that I know there are a lot of people out there that are working at home. They might have a basic interface. They might be recording their own music at home using a MIDI keyboard and a single microphone, for example. And if you're doing that and you have limited access to microphones, so maybe you only have one microphone, maybe you have two microphones, the thing that's going to happen is, depending on the frequency response of your microphone, you might have buildups in certain ranges of frequencies within your music. So for example, if I'm using this microphone on every single instrument and I'm creating a song, let's say I create a song and I'm recording some percussion, I'm recording some bass, some guitar, let's say I'm recording some flute and some voice. I don't know why I threw flute in there, but anyway, so you're recording a range of different instruments, you're recording them all with the same microphone. What's going to happen is when you put it together before you start mixing, you might notice as you start mixing that there will be wherever there's a bump here on that one microphone, you're going to have a buildup of those frequencies in your mix. So if you have one microphone or two microphones and you're aware of what the frequency response curve is for your microphone, you can preemptively guess where you might have to cut certain frequencies in your music. So if I were recording all of my music with this Rode NT1, for example, I might go look at the 100 to 200 range and see if that feels like it's too much. And if I reduce it a little, if it feels better, right? So you might be like, oh, it doesn't quite sound how I want it to sound, but I'm not really sure. If you're using a single microphone for everything and you go target these frequencies that your microphone is boosting, it might then help improve the mix, right? So similarly, I might go and I might see how it feels if I reduce some of these frequencies. Sometimes this area can be kind of harsh and it can make things sound a little thin or unappealing or I hate to use the word harsh again, but it's it feels harsh to me sometimes. So try reducing those if your microphone's boosting that. So that's something to keep in mind. And then it's something also to keep in mind, even if you are using multiple microphones, if you're using multiple microphones that have similar frequency responses, similar boosts, similar cuts, then you might want to keep that in mind and preemptively guess that might be something you could do, or you could try at least to improve your mix. It's not going to be a end all be all, you have to listen, you have to make those decisions, right, based on how it actually sounds. But this is just something to keep in mind. So I think that's it. This is probably going to be a really short video, but that's basically all I had to say on the subject, is knowing about these frequency response graphs, and then knowing if you're using the same microphone over and over that you might have some kind of a buildup and you might want to attenuate certain frequencies in your mix. And this is one way that you can really quickly figure out where to start with those attenuations. So with that said, let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you have used this concept before when you're recording a bunch of stuff with the same microphone or otherwise, right? And I do have a Patreon, so it's patreon.com/CatoNoise. Please feel free to check that out. We have a Discord server we're hanging out on. We're running a book club on there. It's been a lot of fun. And I come out with new videos every Wednesday, and thanks so much for hanging out. Okay. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one, I guess. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.